One of the things that I do as a running coach is write custom running plans for runners. So if maybe you don't want a coach or you don't want the ongoing feedback and communication that you get with a private running coach, maybe you just want a training plan that's built specifically for your fitness level, your needs, your goals, your injury profile, your schedule. That's one thing that I do as a private running coach. And part of that process is me reviewing this 20+ question questionnaire that runners fill out, because I want to get to know them as a runner. I want to get to know your goals, your fitness profile, what you've done previously in races, what you'd like to do, and any races that you have coming up that we're going to start training for. And so I get to look into the training lives of thousands of runners. And I've probably written about 3,000 of these custom running plans since 2011. So about 12 years I've now been offering these. And it is such a unique insight into how runners are approaching their training. And in this video, what I want to do is discuss what length training plan you should select for your upcoming race. So whether it's a 5K or a marathon, whether you have 10 weeks until the race or 20+ weeks into the race, I want you to understand when it is beneficial to have a longer training cycle and when it's actually beneficial to have a shorter training cycle. Because a lot of runners think that a longer training cycle is inherently better, but that is not always the case. Now, let me first say that a longer training cycle is better for building fitness, and a shorter training cycle is better for sharpening your fitness or otherwise getting in more race-specific shape. So with us understanding that, should you go for a longer training cycle or a shorter training cycle? Let's take a hypothetical marathoner, for example, and talk through this. So if you're a marathoner and you'd like to run the Chicago Marathon or the New York City Marathon this fall, and you're wondering how long your training plan should be, the answer really lies in your current fitness level. Because if you're someone who's maybe running 20 or 25 miles a week, you have a 8, 9, 10 mile long run, you're probably a really good candidate for someone who's going to benefit from a longer training plan. You need the extra time to gradually build your mileage and your long run distance so that you're actually going to be capable of finishing a 26.2 mile race on race day. So this longer training cycle is better for building, and inherently in a longer training plan, the first 20, 25, maybe 1/3 of that plan is going to look very similar to base training. We are going to be building your long run, building your mileage. We're going to be doing almost exclusively aerobic workouts. Of course, we're probably going to do some strides, but these things are going to form the foundation, the building blocks of your more race-specific marathon training that's going to come in the final 75% or 2/3 of this training plan. Now, what if you're the same runner, but you're comfortable running 45 miles a week and you're already at a 15 or 16 mile long run? Well, for this runner, I would actually recommend not having a really long training cycle, because you don't need that early base training phase of fitness. You already have that. Your mileage is up, your long run is very close to what I'd consider adequate for finishing a marathon. So you don't need all that extra time. It would just be extra time. And one thing that we can make a mistake with our training is spending too long in any one phase of the training cycle. So I don't want runners spending too long in the base phase of training. It ignores other aspects of our fitness. You know, your fitness does start to sort of stagnate if you're only doing the same thing week after week after week after week. So this person would actually be a great candidate for a shorter, maybe 12-week training plan where, yes, their mileage and long run is going to increase a little bit, but they're going to focus more on more challenging workouts, on more marathon-specific long runs, and we're focusing on getting this runner marathon ready and sharp for 26.2 miles, as opposed to the prior runner who's their job is really to build the fitness necessary to finish the marathon. This last runner pretty much has that fitness already, so now we just need to sharpen. I could not make these videos without your support. So first, let me say thank you. And this video is brought to you by our very own performance training journal. I have always been in love with hard copy training journals for a few really good reasons. Number one, when I was a new runner and I started keeping an actual training journal like this, I learned so much more about the sport and myself just by that practice. It really forces you to reflect on your training, to think more deeply about what works for you, what doesn't work for you. And if you are constantly reflecting on your training, praising yourself for what's going right, planning for the future, and then looking back on what has previously worked for you, you are gonna really know yourself as a runner, and you're gonna start to make wiser decisions about your training. I also created this training journal because I want you to focus on the training metrics that actually matter. The training metrics that help you improve, get better, and progress with your running. We don't have to focus on everything. We just need to focus on what matters. I also took a lot of inspiration from professional runners that I've talked to on the Strength Running podcast. They're adamant by completing a training journal and reflecting on what works for you and actually giving yourself some praise within your journal. You're essentially completing a gratitude journal. You are building up your confidence in your own abilities over time. And when you look back on that journal before a big goal race, you are going to be reading in your own words why you're capable, why you can do this. And I can think of nothing more confidence building than an act like that. So I hope you check out the new performance training journal. It is now available on Amazon. It debuted as the #4 new release in the running category, and I could not be more proud of it. So thank you again for subscribing to the Strength Running YouTube channel, and I hope you enjoy the Performance Training Journal. Now, of course, the question becomes, if you have the time, but you don't need a long training cycle, what do? The best thing to do is to split the time into 2 different training cycles. So let's say you have 22 weeks until the marathon you'd like to run, but you're already running a lot. Your long run is already up at 16 miles. You don't need 22 weeks to train for a marathon. You probably only need a couple months. So for this runner, I would have them divide this time into their 12-week marathon cycle, but also structure a shorter, maybe 8 to 10 week short distance training cycle where they're going to be focusing on something like the 5K. And when you focus on the 5K before you focus on the marathon, you're going to be doing different training. You're going to be doing different workouts. You're going to be focusing more on power and speed. That is going to carry over really well into your marathon training. And you get basically 2 seasons for the price of 1. You have the same amount of time as runner A, but you don't need all that time to build. You're gonna focus on the 5K, maybe run 2 or 3 races over those 10 weeks, try to get fast, try to set some PRs, and then you'll have a short break, and then you'll go right into your marathon training. As long as you have that break, as long as you have a nice little reset, and you don't start with 12 weeks of brutally hard marathon workouts, you're gonna be well recovered, you're gonna feel good, and in fact, you're probably gonna feel amazing because you are carrying over all that speed into your marathon cycle. So if you're someone who's not sure how long to structure your seasons, your training cycles, I hope this video was helpful. Go for the longer cycle if you need time to build. Go for the shorter cycle if you want some just time to sharpen and get really race ready. But if your fitness is already mostly there, the shorter cycle is going to be better for you. Another resource that we have that might be helpful for you is our season planner worksheet. It's a free download. It'll help you plan the length of your season, what distance tune-up races to choose for your race, and also when to schedule those tune-ups and some mistakes to avoid. There's a link under this video for it. Hope you find it helpful.